It's going to be an intimate workshop about like how to launch your MVP on flow, but in general like how to launch like a product and trying to be like as efficient as you can, so that because like the most important things for any kind of founder is time and resources, and you want to optimize that so that like you can prove the value of your product as soon as you can, so that you can reinforce your traction and grow as much as you can, basically trying to aim for like $1 billion company or at least 100 million. That would be great. Sir, is it okay is it recording?
Yes.
Great.
Music. Too much music.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut the music. Of course. All right. Okay. So I kind of like this punchline, like the future is already here. It's not just evenly distributed. So basically everything that you need to launch a product is already here. You just need to plug and play the right components, so to make it to make it attractive and efficient and hit the market as hard as you can. But basically everything already exists in our like technology, culture and stuff, and we just need to push the things forward and create like the right like puzzles, so that like you can create this like new value on the market. Today we're gonna do like kind of like the 6 like big steps to launch like an MVP. So what truly defines a breakthrough idea? The 15-second pitch, like what we call also like elevator pitch, how to make it like super simple and killing as much the complexity as you can. Also testing your idea. So like basically you find your idea, now you are able to pitch it as like 15-second pitch. Now it's like how you're gonna test your idea on the market without spending $1 million first. You wanna test that like you're creating the right value to the right audience before spending like $1 million to create your product, because otherwise you might like spend $1 million to test the wrong idea. So you wanna test the idea as soon as you can, and then like double down on like the investment and the traction and stuff like that. Then like once you tested a little bit your idea, you want to reinforce like basically the product market fit, find the product market fit, so that once you got your product market fit, that's the right value proposition with the right niche audience and the right retention, then you're gonna scale the growth of your product. But you don't want to scale any kind of like marketing activation or growth strategy before you find like the real like your real traction and your real retention and your product market fit. Otherwise you're just going to spend like a lot of cash to bring people to a room where there is nothing to do. And then like once you got there, that might be the right time to like fund your idea with like different options, like, or you can fund it like with the classic like VC way, or friends and family, like love money and stuff like that. But like we are in Web3 and we have like way more options now in Web3 to fund your idea, and one of it is of course like including your community as soon as you can, so that you can start building with them and they can get incentivized to the success of your product or protocols. And then like growth and retention, basically you don't want to grow before you crack the retention of your product, because the goal is to like aim for like a compound growth effect and hyperscale. And you achieve that only when you have like a great retention. Otherwise, like if each time you bring like 10 people, you lose 5 people, that's not what you want to do. You want to bring like each time you bring one guy into your ecosystem, you want that guy to bring like 2 other guys, basically, to have that kind of like viral network loop. So that's the whole presentation in like 2 seconds, and now we're gonna like deep dive a little bit more into like each of the parts. So what truly defines a breakthrough idea? Like good ideas are obvious, and great ideas seems crazy. So basically, for example, this quick example of like when Airbnb pitch investor, most strangers will never rent out their homes. That was kind of like the main things that like they faced, and they were like, it seems impossible, and that's why like a really good idea is like at the crossover of like something impossible and something really exciting. And that's how like you get like a lot of like people attention, is by like showing that like an idea can be like practically like too good to be true, but you want this kind of a bit like a provocative like component into your idea, because otherwise if it's too easy or too possible, potentially a lot of people already done it, and you need to ask yourself why you never heard about it, and why it's not happening, and why there is no market for it. And like we always say, like, you know, like your founders don't want to share their ideas, they all want to keep their ideas for them until they reach the market. I would advise to like share your idea as soon as you can. The hard thing is not to get the idea, it's to execute the idea. And so basically 99% of the people will be able to have the idea, 1% of the people will be able to execute it. So share it like and try to like reinforce like that the traction that you already got, that you have with your ID. Any do you want to share, for example, like you told me that you wanted like to potentially have like to launch like a new product. Like, do you have a specific idea that in mind right now?
So my idea, I called it what GB.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, charity NGOs spending sign like $5 a month here.
Yeah.
$1 a month, buy this, and then donate the money. The accountability is so long, lags, you don't even know how your money going cause.
Mm-hmm.
It can range 40%, like save the
Mm-hmm.
program. So my idea is basically charities would go to a website,
Yeah.
Web2, and they build their budget
Yeah.
through like a wizard experience, and then that budget is,
Mm-hmm.
so this is where people will funds.
Yeah.
Because it's a contract, then you have that show how and be used, so it's transparent. Also, of course, the community, these are more ideas of like people who sign up causes, so that you can buy other children.
Yeah.
Of course, you can build communities, but generally my idea is create in the whole donor.
Great.
How it started.
Great. So first, well done. It's highly ethic and highly. It's cool to see this kind of project. Always like you did like some stuff like super interesting. Like you want to highlight the pain and then like show the solution, so that like you reinforce the contrast of like what you're building. And so, for example, it's like 95. I'm just like throwing numbers, but like 95% of like charity are inefficient for XYZ reason and losing like X million dollars per year. So we did that. That is adding transparency and increasing efficiency of like money redistribution and blah blah blah. Right. But yeah, what you did is really great. It's like kind of like, so that's the kind of a framework that you can use also like to test your ID. It's like a world-changing startup ID must pass this kind of like 4 lenses. So when we are saying that, it's kind of like Airbnb level, Facebook, Meta, like all this kind of like big like product or NBA Top Shot. But basically, like 4 elements, the exploding problem. So your problem needs to be like, you need to show that the problem is like super important and growing every day. So it's like, for example, like, exactly like about like there is like this problem with like content creators and revenue like in content creation, for example, and like that problem is increasing every day because like AI is increasing like every day, and so everyone is using AI, and it's like increase like the problem of like revenue model for revenue creator, as like someone now can just run like 5,000 content creators at once using like an AI model. It's going to just like increase the race of like of revenue, the gold rush for the whole content creator market, for example. So like in content creator market, you have like 95% of the content creator getting 95% of the market value, and this problem will increase every day because of as AI like is more and more distributed around the world. And so you are looking. That's just an example, but basically if the problem you're tackling is growing every day, it's even more exciting because it means that like your growth will be indexed to the problem you're tackling. Then the unfair insight, like why you as a person or why the team has like unfair advantage to tackle this problem. So for example, with like the charity context, like have you worked in a charity? Have you spotted something that no one knows on the market that put you on a spot that you have like an unfair advantage? You know something that like no one knows, and so you're gonna save time, or you're gonna increase your impact and efficiency by like creating that product. The skin in the game test, would you use it even if no one else does? Like, does it like create real value for you? It seems like super like obvious, but like a lot of founders are creating something and saying like, I'm not the audience. It's potentially problematic. Potentially problematic because if you're not the audience and you're starting a new product that's supposed to solve that problem, how do you test that like your product is like delivering the right value? Like, for example, those guys are creating like this like amazing new like fish protocol to like create like a whole ecosystem around like the fishing industry and derbies around the US. And I'm guessing that you used to this kind of like fish sport, hopefully. Not yet? Well, do it. I mean, at least to understand your users. Like, you want to understand like the everyday like users problem, because you're gonna create an experience for them. So if you should become an expert at what you're tackling, because that's gonna increase the value of your product. And then the impossible paradox: if experts dismiss it as impossible, you might be into something. So it's like speaking about the idea is like potentially impossible. You want to always push a little bit the limit of the tech or the execution or like a new way to address the market. But basically, if you're not doing something new that people think that is not possible, like why is it like a breakthrough idea that's gonna like be like totally crazy? Like OpenAI, for example, when they launched like their GPT-3, like most of like AI researchers were like, no, this thing's gonna happen in 10 years from now, and like the whole planet got shocked, and they had like the most impressive growth in the entire like technology history of humanity, because that was like highly shocking the way that the technology achievement that they did. So if your idea doesn't make people uncomfortable, it's probably not ambitious enough. So we are thinking that for like billion-dollar company, if you're aiming for just like a more like classic business that is not like a hyper-growth startup, of course you don't have to chase this kind of thing. But basically you want this kind of like salty things in your pitch that like make people a bit like, oh, like how this guy can say that? What does he know that I don't? And how can you get people excited about what you're doing? Then the second thing is like the 50-second pitch. Like you want to present your idea with like basically killing all complexity and hyper focus on like the clarity and the value of your product. Like even more in a technological like environment where a lot of people are speaking about like technical spec, like that their protocol is like highly valuable for XYZ reason. Is like, as like for example, like Simon Sinek says, like it's like you don't start with the what, you start with the why. You start with the emotional connection of your product, and then you explain how is it possible and what it is. I mean, like what it is and how is it possible.
Is that a true statement or is that just a statement?
This,
like an example.
This thing?
Oh, that's a verb. I thought you were saying X. I thought you were saying X, the company.
No. But yeah, for example, that's an example of like a 50-second pitch that is kind of like focusing on like the pain and empowering like the users. So basically, you want people are buying a better version of themselves by consuming like XYZ content or product, and so even more in this world where we don't have a lot of in the Eastern like civilization, we don't have a lot of like big like needs nowadays, and so like primary needs like so you want to basically you have like kind of like there is this YC guy also speaking about like you have two kind of products in startup. You have like vitamin and painkiller. So like what's your product? Like is your product like fixing a real pain, or is it just like an ingredient that's just gonna like boost your energy every day, but you don't really need it? Is it like comfort, or is it like highly needed? And basically you want to aim for like the pain, the big headache, and give like the painkiller to that instead of just like a comfort around it. So quick framework to apply that. The narrative pitch formula. What's broken in the world? How does your product fix it? And how does it change people's identity or status? So it's like, for example, like let's do a quick test with you. Like what's the things that is broken? What's the solution, and why is it important for how does it change like the audience? So what's the problem? What does it create? This lack of transparency. How many millions are being stolen by this lack of transparency?
Creates a space for graft, corruption.
Okay,
basically.
Exactly. It's like focusing on like corruption plus the figures that prove that corruption. And you're fixing the corruption. You're not fixing the lack of transparency. Lack of transparency itself is not a real problem. Sometimes you want privacy in the world, but you're fixing like corruption and millions of dollars that are being stolen every day.
So the problem is there's corruption in charity donor.
I think donor
is better. So the problem is that there's a lot of the donor which by showing where the numbers go, and ultimately is ability trust, allowing for more people to participate and more people to benefit.
Great.
Is corruption or problem?
Honestly, both. There's inefficiency, of course, because for example, you spend so much media, get sort of emotion out of all. This could go to, and in corruption, there's a lot of so you get a big donor that has an X budget, and then it's subcontracted somebody in the country that's then subcontracted somebody in the region that is then given to the brother,
and then somehow someone
right.
All right, great experiment test. So I'm gonna just open the door.
Have my ticket.
Hey man, sorry, get in. Oh. Welcome. So we just started that workshop about like how to like kickstart an MVP 0 to 1 and trying to launch a product and test your ID and test your product to like increase efficiency when you launching your new project. And we are so just to give you a bit of context, that's the main point we're gonna tackle in the next like 20 minutes. So we just did like what's really defined a breakthrough ID. We are here. The 15-second pitch, so like to turn like your ID into like an elevator pitch that is super simple to explain and that catch people's attention. And now we're gonna move to like how to test that ID for once you identify a breakthrough ID. You're now able to pitch it in 15 seconds. How you gonna test that ID before like spending $1 million to create your product?
Yeah.
Cool.
Right. Goes for, not pitch, like you could take this. So interestingly, so I would imagine that there's specific things that need to be done for whatever donation is going, like, oh, we need to feed these kids or we need to do X. So what if you were to make a marketplace where people could post that, right? Like a school could say, we need 1 million notebooks. It doesn't matter where these notebooks come from.
Yeah.
Maybe you have 1 million sitting in your garage. Maybe, so like, is there, maybe that's an, I can just do direct service.
Pin post this for
or.
So you mean like I guess the
Because this money's going for what?
so yeah, instead of going through like a charity like saving, for example, the people in the country that are actually saving will request the money themselves.
Yeah,
not even money,
GoFundMe
like
a little bit.
notebooks,
Right.
like what the exact
Charity,
charity.
transparent GoFundMe.
Yeah, save the children.
So that is exactly why it's so important to like identify the real problem you're tackling, because you can add so many different solutions. So do you want to take the spot of like the charity? Do you want to take the spot of like the fundraising system? Do you want to replace like the banking system for charity? Like that, it's like regarding like the problem you're fixing, you have like so many different solutions, and even for one problem you have like 10,000 different solutions, and you want to add like you want to create like the best one for your specific niche and audience. Speaking about startup, because you basically want to identify like a really narrow like problem that is growing every day in a niche market, and then saturate that market by like creating a solution that people loves and use every day, basically. And to just conclude the whole like pitch aspect of the startup, like let's try to focus on like the stories more than the tech spec, because people remember stories more than like any kind of like technical ability. And yeah, we are all like, and human being in general, we all like good stories since we are like children. So that's just an easy way to remember everything. So don't focus on like simplicity and good stories that stress the problem and create this beautiful contrast for the solution you're creating, instead of like speaking about gigabytes and transaction per second, because not a lot of people care about it. So now you have a great idea, you're able to pitch it in 15 seconds. How you test it? So you don't need a product to validate the demand, you need a demand to justify the product. And even more in Web3, there's just, for example, to share like a quick personal experience. Like when I started to build like an NFT protocol, NFT Swap Protocol on Flow, we kind of like started by like opening creating a community, asking like everyone if they wanted like this new ability to swap one NFT for another, for their NBA Top Shot collection, NFL All Day collection, all like the biggest like IPs living on Flow right now. And so from that community, we kind of like collected a lot of information from them to make sure that we are replying to like a problem that they had, and also that they were excited about it, and not excited just by the new ability, but by the way we were solving the problem, so that they can use that tool every day. And so a way to test a little bit like your ID before even like producing the product, it's you can potentially do like this like $20 validation experiment. It's not really $20, it's more like $220. So $20 because like you can like kind of like you buy like a Webflow template for $20 and you express your ID like on your landing page. And then like you're gonna run like basically a $200 like a couple of like $50 like marketing campaign with testing different like ID with different audience. I mean different like way to pitch your ID with different audience, and trying to find where do you have traction and where you should focus your energy.
Like
A/B testing, exactly, on the landing page, on the classic landing page. So basically on that landing page you want like 5 main elements. you start with like your headline and a call to action. Why should people care about the new product? The pain point and the market data. What's broken? And so like what is broken and does it matter at like an industry level? Like is the problem you're tackling? Is it like a $1 million problem market, or is it like a $1 billion market or a $1 trillion market? And you want to kind of like emphasize that so that like you create this feeling for the users that first you're not alone, and second this is exciting because it's going to be like a huge revolution and not just a quick fix to a problem. Yeah.
So if you want users,
Yep.
how should you approach a district?
Mm-hmm.
You can rather collect a person, meet them in person, and train user.
Yep.
But if we're doing Twitter, we don't want this. Maybe once we get them, is there something to have like a product? We should have a funnel for our users.
We're gonna deep dive into that specific element just after. But you're right. It's like you want to have like. There's also this theory of like saying like, with the 1,000 true fans. You want to have 1,000 hardcore fans that love your product, that use it every day, and then you can monitor that by like XYZ KPI that works for you. So for example, if it's like an app around like fishing and like all the different fish you collected, it's like is one of your users using your app each time they go to fish? Or is it like something that they do something like once in a while, and that's just like a vitamin kind of product? So how do you create like these habits into your consumer, into your user life, where it's just better with your solutions than without? So you start with the headline and the call to action. You highlight the pain points and the market data. You show your solution and describe the future, not just the feature. It's like, for example, that's something that I did like highly wrong in the past. I was focusing on like a small incremental change that was kind of like, oh, like you couldn't do that in the past, but now you can do this small thing that is great and like everyone want it. This is great for just a side project. This is not great for $1 billion company. You want to start a revolution. In a $1 billion company, just to give you like to have this scale in mind, it means that like 1 billion people would agree to give you $1 for that. So it's just to give you the scale of like the problem that you're tackling and the solution you're giving, and it's not just like a quick component on top of an app that already exists. Then you need to like proof a little bit like your brand, because at that point you don't have product, you don't have investors, you don't have users, you have like 20 followers, including your mom and your sisters, and so you want to borrow credibility from XYZ like proof point. Like could be media, could be like you have a friend that has like a great startup and he can give you like a testimonial saying like, I'm super excited about it, I really want to use it. There can be like a testimonial from like a big charity saying like, that's a huge problem that we need to tackle, and that is like increasing every day, and blah, blah, blah. So leverage your network so that you can add like a bit more testimony. Try to not like get like fake testimony, because it's pretty it's super easy for people to see it, and you're just gonna kill your brand straight away. And then like creating like an early access FOMO effect, where people that are there supporting that idea gonna get rewarded by like helping you from the beginning and believing in you from the beginning. And so how can you give them like a first experience or first action where they can start contributing to the realization of your idea and your product, and then giving them a whole like user experience in front of them with that. And then you can use a different like classic distribution channel to launch that, to advertise that landing page, which is like Twitter, Reddit, LinkedIn, Discord, and just like pushing with like small marketing campaign. Or you create like, or you are highly creative and you create like viral content because you are a meme lord, and that's amazing. You're gonna save money in advertising. Otherwise, you spend like $50 on Twitter and you test like the number of clicks that you have on your landing page. And if you do that, for example, with a specific audience, and you don't have any sign up, and just let's start to rethink straight away why that doesn't work. Is it the right audience? Is it the right product? Is it the right value proposition? Why people are not signing up? And you want to do that before you start producing even like your product, because otherwise, once you're working or paying for like 4 or 5 developers, you're gonna lose money basically every day. So you want to try to create the most efficient like value proposition to the right audience as soon as you can, by being like creative and. Well, in crypto, you have like this, for example, like a simple example. You have this whole, like, for example, pre-sale mechanism. So if you join, you're gonna launch a coin with your activity, with your product. If you join that wait list, you will be able like to buy the coin for 10 cents, and then we'll release the coin to the market for like 50 cents. And so you give that like incentives. Or if it's not like related to crypto, it's like you want, for example, to give like saying like, okay, you're tagging the charity, for example. Well, if you sign up to that list, you will be the first to be onboarded and have access to the product before the whole market. So basically, you give them an advantage that you create artificially, but it should be a real advantage, not just like marketing punchline, but giving them like a real, not just a feeling, but it should be real. Here we go.
Yeah, I almost grabbed the camera.
So build a community first, product second, and then the market will help you like to fine tune your idea. You don't want the market to tell you exactly what to do, but you definitely want to listen to the market to fine tune at least the way you are expressing your idea and communicating your idea. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of cash too. So the fourth element out of the 6 of this presentation is like the product market fit. So now you have like a clear, you have a breakthrough idea, you're able to express it in 15 seconds. You tested your idea and you have already like 10,000 people that sign up to your landing page. And you started to produce your product, and so now you're putting the product in people's hands, and you're gonna start like being able to analyze like how people are using your product, breaking your product, and basically what you want to do at that point is like finding your product market fit. And a good product market fit is like basically someone needs your product every day for that use case. It's not just, oh, that's great, or it's not just like your sister or cousin saying it's a great idea, like you're a great entrepreneur. It's not that. It's like clearly like or even a community getting I'm having fun speaking about like, making like this terrible joke, but like about sister and cousin, but even your community, they could be totally biased. If, for example, if you gave them an advantage or early access for XYZ things, they're gonna be like too friendly, with you. And so you want to be really grounded and being like, okay, do they really need my product for that problem every day, or is it just like a vitamin thing? So PMF isn't when people like your product; it's when they cannot live without it, with a specific thing. So if you're a fisherman in America, you should use your app. They should use your app every single day or every single time they do that fishing activity. Otherwise, this is not a real like billion-dollar company.
Here's 650 fishing outing.
Great. Here we go. So how that whole community is gonna need that every time they do that like activity. Again, quick framework to test the product market fit. So you can do this like 40% rule framework where basically if 40% plus say very disappointed, you're approaching a PMF. So how to reach PMF? The rapid iteration loop. So basically like the four elements to like try to find your product market fit, because basically like you need to change like all your audience or your value proposition or some component of your product to find that like product market fit. And so what you can do to test it is like trying to identify like 3-5 customer segments. So I don't know, like for example, in your case, that would be like, okay, you have like that kind of charity, then you have like a GoFundMe, for example, solution. And so basically you identify the different like potential users segment, and then you're gonna analyze the traction data on all of those segments, if you see that like on that segment, on segment A you have like 80% of returning user, and segment B you have 15% of returning user, you want to focus on segment A. Even it like looks obvious, like a lot of founders are not applying that to their own strategy because they are trying to get everyone, and you cannot address the whole market at once when you're a founder because you're limited in time and money and energy, and so you want to spend your whole energy on where you get the most value out of it. Also, like what you can do is like kind of like we were speaking about ads before. It's kind of like A/B testing like different messages for the different like customer segment, and so that like if you identify, for example, if for for your product, you analyze that you've seen that like where you have the most traction is segment A. Then you can also test like different value proposition to even increase even more like the retention or the activation of segment A, and like running different like value proposition and just
So for number 3, double down on the highest.
Yeah.
For example, someone uses our app, they
Yeah.
can either go and look at other people's fish, or they can catch a fish and store it and look at their fish.
Yeah.
So like we could optimize one of like.
So that's we're gonna tackle that just after. But basically, you want to connect your retention to the activity that makes money, because money gonna fuel your growth.
Yeah.
And so if they are doing something that is great but not giving you any money, potentially you need to evolve like your model, or potentially like drive the user experience or the workflow to do other activity that obviously just like help you grow.
So
Basically,
like pro fisherman versus which will lead.
I mean, so you have different like strategy, right? Like regarding like if you're having like if you're raising money or not, for example, like you have like I don't remember who said that like in the Silicon Valley, but basically there was kind of like making money is an option, making revenue is an option. It's like one of the big unicorn in the valley. I don't remember who, but like basically if you raise like $200 million, you can focus on like growing your fisherman community, and then like choosing when you're gonna start like activating your economical model. And potentially if you have 2 or 3 competitors in front of you and you raise like $100 million and they didn't, you can like focus on growth, like fast run the whole market, and once you fast run all your competitors, then you unlock your economical model. But if you didn't raise any cash, you cannot do that. You need to focus on like making money day one, otherwise like in 7 days you will be alone. And so and 7 days and a half. No, but you can spend more time, but you won't. It's like, you know, fail fast. Like you want to fail fast and pivot and find the new iteration that will create growth and that will create like a new like dynamism into your organization. And you don't want to spend like 2 years in your garage saying like, oh, I'm a super like hard worker founder. I spent the last 2 years in my garage. No, it's like you want to spend energy where it creates like opportunities, and not just like proving to your peers that you are a hard worker, because this is great for cousins and sisters and mom, but the rest we don't care. So don't chase growth before PMF. That's like pouring water into like a leaking bucket. So again, it's kind of like you don't want to spend like $10,000 in a marketing activation, or go to East Denver and buy like a booth for 20 or 50K. If you don't have this retention like metric on that. And now we're gonna tackle the things you were talking about. This whole like growth funnel.
This is layer cake.
Yeah.
You want all the new users to be like active.
Yeah.
Falling in crack.
Exactly. Basically, you want to have like this 1,000 true fans, and you want to understand why do they use your app every day? Why they cannot like why they miss it when they don't use it, and how you making like how you give them like a great experience, and how you create like this network virality out of your product once you figure it out. Those 1,000 true fans. Otherwise, you're gonna bring 1 million people once, and then they won't come again. Okay. So you're gonna burn your brand, and you're gonna burn your cash. So a quick point about like funding and how to fund your idea. If you raise too early, you're selling your vision at a discount price. That's something that like some product like you need to raise from day one. Like if you do hardware or this kind of thing, like this is super expensive. You potentially need like a lot of cash just to test your idea. Hardware products can be like pretty complex in funding, but like for any kind of like software company, SaaS company, Web3 company, like for you wanna find different solutions than just raising money from day one, because they're gonna get like a big percentage of your company, even more if you are a first-time founder. If you're a second-time founder, potentially you can just like leverage your experience from the past, raise $50 million, and then like do hyper growth in a different way. But if you're a first-time founder trying to find like product market fit, You don't want to give away like all your startup equity from the beginning, because otherwise like that's going to slow your growth in the future. And you want to work basically with investors that support your growth and not just slowing you down in the future. So if you tell me like I need to raise money right now to have like a front end and a back end developer and a smart contract developer, no, you go to a hackathon, you speak with like a couple of people, try to be friendly, you try to sell your idea to a new team, and that's basically your first sell, is like getting your team. If you're not able to get your team to build your product, there is a problem in your product, there is a problem in your pitch, there is a problem in like, if even like people that are supposed to be on your side don't believe in that product, it means that like you need to work better at like, and also like it's kind of like the first big like experiment. It's like, are you able to sell your product to your own team and create your own team? And that's what investors are going to also look at like in the future. If you're not able to create a great team, how are you going to like conquer a whole market of like multi-billion-dollar market? And so different way to like fund your idea with and then like raise later. We were talking about it before, so like pre-sales and waitlist. So in your case, for example, like even like for charity, if it's like $20 a month to use your product, can they like already like buy like in advance like your license, and then you will deliver the product like in a couple of like weeks or months, so that you can get a bit of cash to fund it. So it's not really a great example. It works better for like for a physical product, this kind of thing. Like you want to do, for example, crowdfunding for a new like pair of shoes that has an NFT attached, and people are buying the pair of shoes before you produce it, and so you can like get the money in, produce your product, and then deliver to the market, and try to keep a bit more cash flow so that you don't have to do a new crowdfunding after, but you can just like fund the next one. Yeah.
But I think this is unique. It doesn't need money. It needs, like, for countries that don't have a good education system, they don't need money, they need notebook. And people have like empty notebook basement. So like the crowdfunding for that could be like 5 notebooks. Doesn't matter like where you get them, just like empty notebooks, donate that. You don't need to spend $5 for money. Like everybody has stuff.
I mean, then how to,
And there's the money, but at least you have what you need.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, most, they're local.
Okay,
I think, they don't need stuff. They act whatever. I mean, for everyday normal, if it's a disaster or
okay, they need
a
infrastructure.
war, these are different.
But for example, like if we're not speaking about like physical product, but like more like, okay, you creating a smart contract to like redistribute the money to XYZ like actors, potentially you're gonna use like your own tokens to do that, to like to send the money from point A to point B, and then like and with your whole
So I was thinking about this. The idea is donors paying whatever to it's changed,
Yes.
and then the issue actually that I have is how to on chain how that stable coin whatever the couple crosses NFT, so it's called where they take a picture and automatically put on IPFS. Sorry.
Alright.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking for, this is the part I don't know, but I think it'll be basically.
Well, ours is like proof of catching a fish.
Okay.
So like proof of building a school.
That's a long.
Yeah.
but what I think is super important. It's like if you don't need a token, don't launch a token just for a pre-sale, because otherwise it's going to be a shit show, because you're going to value a digital currency that you won't really use in your product later, and that's going to be a horrible experience for your whole economy and community. So yeah, if you can use just like if you can build a smart contract and use like a stable coin that already exists on the market and do like differently and fund this idea differently, please do, because like we see so many times like people launching tokens just to fund like their ID, and then that doesn't or just make a quick cash grab, and that's killing the industry every day. So we want to use that in the real with real use cases. Otherwise, you have a couple of like other like elements you can use, like for example also like NFT or tokenized assets. So like if you're creating a community, anyone can have like buy an NFT to be part of that community. For example like the fishing like app, like you can buy like $50 your NFT to be part of like the next like big like fishing competition. That will be basically your entry ticket for the fishing competition, and you will get access to XYZ perks out of it. And then if you own that, you can like have access like to basically you kind of like early you sell like the future perks that you're going to create for your community.
Would that
Could be.
like
Yeah.
early adopters DAO?
Yeah, definitely.
You could like just ownership. If you think you have this right, a badge,
Yeah.
like this clear.
And DAO is like, okay, that's a great keyword, buzzword for when we are in East Denver.
Yeah.
But when you speak with to your consumer, don't use it because it's like you're gonna like it depends what market you're targeting. But if you're targeting like the fisherman market, where we guess that like the average age is around like 40, 50 years old, you're gonna like miss the point when you communicate to them. Otherwise, like you can also like do like classic like crowdfunding, but also like hack funding. Where what I call hack funding is kind of like doing like consulting with your product at the beginning. So, for example, in your idea, like if your product help a charity save like $1 million a year because it's more efficient and blah blah blah, it's just like okay, invoice that. Like that's gonna be $100,000, and then I will set up the software in your charity, and then you're gonna save $1 million. So like by giving me $100,000, you're saving $900,000, and that's great solution. So you can just like, and so by doing that, you're already starting to sell your product. You're already starting like to improve your product because you're gonna test your product in real condition with real clients and users. And then use that money to basically scale and automate your process to grow your impact. And when you have a bit of when you have traction, that's when you want to raise money with your from investor. Again, it's not like an obligation to raise money, but if you are aiming for $1 billion company, potentially you need that kind of cash flow so that you can like do hyper growth on like exactly in advance. So. You have traction. Basically, it's like more than like 1,000 the 1,000 true fans engaged that use your product every day or every time they are in that like context. Your acquisition strategy can scale. So acquisition strategy being also like having like a compound effect out of it. And you're raising to accelerate, not to pay like for salaries and advertising. You pay to grow what already works, not to try to find your product market fit. Otherwise, you will waste $1 million or more and burn your reputation on the VC market. The best fundraising strategy: be so good that investors chase you. You don't want to chase investors. You want to let the investor chase you, and like basically you leak a couple of like good news opportunities to the market, and then you let the investor chase you. That's how you can create like the best excitement around your product. It's the same thing as like a nightclub with it's like you want to let people out and paying like sorry it's private and everyone's wants to get in. To do that, you need to have like already a beautiful nightclub with a community, with a good product, with a good thing, and then like the people will want to get in. But like basically let's not, if you chase too much, it's also same thing in seduction or any like kind of like a couple or human being mechanism. You wanna be the one that is chased, not the other one. Last point of this quick like workshop, and that's going to resonate with what you were wondering at the beginning. It's like growth and retention. Growth without retention is an illusion because you're going to lose like basically traction every day. Each time you grow, you're going to lose more money and not improve your business. And the next $1 billion idea, it's a feature, it's not a feature, it's a revolution. And so to test that like kind of like growth, to improve like your growth approach, you can use that like I think it's called like the pirate model. So the R model, exactly R, we did that, but yeah. So basically you gonna like acquire your user. So acquisition of the user is like through like marketing campaign, marketing campaign. In social media or XYZ like distribution channel. Then once they arrive on your website, how do you activate them? So what is a user activation? Is a user activation signing up? Is a user activation buying the product? Is a user activation buying a license? So define your activation, track that number, and try to optimize the number of people you acquire and arrive on your website and the number of people that actually do that action that you consider as an activation. And once you activated your users, you want to work on the retention. So like if, for example, for the charity model, is the charity going to use it like for the next fundraising or for the next, like you want them to come back and return to your product so that like you don't spend like, so it's a charity business, so it's a bit different, but and not really, because I'm not a big fan of like, I think charity business should be profitable because that's how you can grow your impact. I'm not a big believer of like relying on like grants and subvention and like basically asking for help, because if you are able to make money by doing good things, you can just like scale, like do more. Exactly. It's like you know, like this like Mr. like super thing like Mr. Beast like a charity channel. The more users they follow that channel, the more money he gets. The more money he gets, the bigger is the next video, and the bigger is the next impact. And because the video is even bigger and the impact is even bigger, then he gets even more money, and he can just like compound that and just like grow and grow and grow.
This is why I like sure about whether I'm targeting individual scheme for me, like crowdfunding,
Yeah.
or make their doing business cheaper.
Yeah.
Right now, you know, everybody has seen a YouTube video where they're asking for money and they show
Yeah.
the children. So this costs
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah, of course, of course.
That can be used for themselves or for the cause. The point is the
Yeah.
cost. This is why I don't know. I will.
Of course, but so you were saying like speaking to like the specific individuals, or speaking to like a big like charity or organization, but kind of like you kind of want to start at the beginning with like speaking to like 10 independent people and test your idea. But once you get like the whole like pitch, retention, blah, 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 I mean, like once your product is a bit more mature, you want to leverage like growth opportunity. When you do one sale, that sale should like create like 1,000 sign up. Or like you don't want to do like the 1,000 sign up one by one. You want to do that one by one at the beginning to test your value proposition, to test your idea, to test your model. And once you find it, you want to optimize your resources and your energy. And so if you can, for example, with the fishing example, you want to sign up like association and not just.
And your thing, I just deployed my first.
And congratulations. Here it is, you see? It's that easy that he was able to do it and listening at the marketing 101. But yeah, so you acquire a user, you activate them, you work on retention, and then once you have like your hyper, like your hardcore fans, you want your hardcore fans to like bring you new users. So basically when you acquire one guy, that guy gonna bring you like two other guys, and you create that virality network and effect on that. And of course, like the revenue, how you monetize that engagement. And you don't want to do, if we sum it up like again a little bit, like you want to work first on retention before scaling the acquisition. Otherwise, you're just going to waste a lot of cash. So sustainable growth is compounded, not linear. So you should see like when you do like really like hyper growth, and when you look at like hyper growth startup, it's not like a linear growth. It's you have like big jump of like when they find like new like growth hack into their model. So final takeaways: test before you build, because building before testing is expensive and you don't want to do that. Focus on retention before growth. Same thing. You don't want to spend $1 million in marketing before having hardcore fans. And you create a movement, not just a product. Even more in Web3, where like community is so important. In Web3, it's a whole like research and development industry. We are trying to test like new models for life and societies in general. And so you want to create like this movement where you're not just creating like a new consumption product, but you're actually creating a new way of living, consuming, acting, sharing, blah blah blah. And yeah, the next $1 billion ideas in the future, it's a revolution. And I will again like say that example of like, if you aim for $1 billion company, it means that you're able to sell your product at least to like, it could be like selling like your product to 1 billion people. A billion people should wow, losing my French, but you should be, if it's $1 billion, a billion people market, like it means like 1 billion people give you like $1, and so it just gives you the scale of like the impact idea in general. And that's it for me.